Okay, welcome. This is our first Saturday meeting at 10 in the morning. And it looks like half our club members are still at home sleeping, but we'll get used to this. I want to point out some dates that we need to think about and save. We have our meeting today, but then next Saturday, same time, same place, Matt will be putting on a Finial workshop, yes? And I got the thumbs up, so that sounds like a good thing.
Hey, Mark, we should emphasize that if you have any other thing you want to discuss, you don't have to do the Finials. If you've got anything you want help on, you're welcome.
That's true. So this isn't limited strictly to Finials. If you have other projects that you want to work on, you're having a problem with something, bring it in. We'll give you our counsel, and maybe we'll fix your problem, and maybe we'll make it worse. But we'll give it the old college try. So come on down. Then in September, we're going to have our club meeting on Saturday the 17th, and I don't remember who's giving the demo. Ben. Is it Ben? Yeah, okay. So Ben's going to be showing us something. And he hasn't quite figured out what, and it depends on how much we have to twist his arm, whether he'll be able to turn really good or not. So then on the 24th, the following Saturday, we're going to be having a texturing workshop. And that'll either be with Ben or myself or both. We'll figure out something. Then on Saturday, October 1st, we're having a swap meet over at Chuck Lobeto's house. And that's going to be from 10 to 2. So anybody that has anything that they want to swap, bring, sell, trade, meet over there. And it'll be just an informal gathering. Then on Saturday, October 8th, we're having our Detroit area wood turning symposium over at the church on Highland Road, M59. Then we'll have the next Saturday, the 15th, is our club meeting. Then Saturday, the 22nd, is our workshop. So we've got October totally booked. And then we'll be having our meetings in November here also. Let's now turn time over to our new safety chairs, Michelle and Doug Corey. They were going to talk to us a little bit about something.
A little something about a bit. Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead. Figured you can use that up front.
Oh, okay. 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 Does it work?
Jeff, I think you have to turn the volume up. Let me see it was on.
Green.
Okay.
Yeah, I can tell.
Okay, now you can hear me?
Yes. Keep it close to your mouth.
Is there germs?
Yes.
Thank you. When Mark asked us to volunteer, which I'm not sure how that works, but anyway, my first question to Mark was, well, what can we teach anything? We've only been doing this for about a year and we have no clue what you artists know how to do. And Mark basically said, no, you're not necessarily teaching you stuff. You're just kind of being a reminder thing. So anyway, I'm Michelle and he's Doug for clarification. I'm the mouthpiece. He'll tap me in when I'm talking too much.
Just a little bit. There you go.
Okay. So anyway, we're duly impressed with your talents, and so we look up to you. So we're not going to be lecturing and drilling in, stuff like what you probably already know. So you'll be hearing things that you already know. Just kind of reminder. So this is we're doing an analogy thing. In aviation, there's very few accidents.
It's hard out here.
Some of the accidents are human error. That could be pilot, that could be airplane mechanic, that could be FAA controllers. And the two primary things for accidents are fatigue and complacency. And when between the two of us, we have almost 3,000 hours of flying airplanes. And every time we fly, regardless of the airplane, and regardless if we own it or rent it, we always refer to a checklist. And this is,
So, yeah, what we have is, they can probably hear me. They have a checklist that we always use. Okay, so I've been flying the same airplane for 30 years. So guess what? When I was 25 or 30 years old, we're pretty sharp up here, right? We can remember a lot of stuff, and it's right there at our hands. But as we get older, as a lot of us are sober here, we don't quite remember, we don't have all that recall with respect to operating certain things. So we have checklists. And every time I get in my plane or Michelle, there's a checklist. Now, this is a lot more thorough than something we might do, but we're equating this to, before you get out to your shop, are you safe to be out there? Meaning, anything worrying you, you're not frustrated or pissed off. So that's the object here. What we're trying to convey is, in aviation, we have a lot of safety protocols we go through. And we're just trying to introduce maybe a similar mindset when we go out and pick up a tool and start spinning wood or anything, cutting on a bandsaw, drilling, doesn't matter. Look around you. Michelle's got several points to talk about. And again, it's not going to be a lecture. It's just a reminder. So, if anybody has any hints and stuff they want us to address at future meetings, of course, talk to us.
well, one of the first things is mentally and physically, are you up to speed, basically? Are you on any prescription drugs or over-the-counter drugs that may cause drowsiness, therefore impair your ability, as well as did you have an emotional upset in your house or your work or something? Your shop shouldn't be your retreat go-to. You know, we never flew when we were upset or, you know, something happened. And then are you, is your work area clear of obstacles? So this is what we're going to laminate next to each lathe. We're going to laminate something like this, and it's a work in progress. Are there any obstacles around? I know I've walked up to something and everything, and Doug I watched him go up to something. I said, Doug, there's a log behind you. If anything happens and you go backwards, you're going to fall. So that would be something. Is your lathe area work clear of wires and cables? We have now these little lights that sit on metal here. And I've noticed one time I had that cord like hung over something. I said, oh, geez. So that's going to be on the checklist. Is your clothing tight? You know, I've come out there with hanging sleeves, jewelry, hair. For those that have no hair, don't worry about it. But those that have it, you know, and
Sensitive subject.
yeah, and then I wear this all the time because it's emergency, and so really we should be wearing, you know, Cade, he removes his bracelets and rings. And I even noticed my earrings. I was wearing a long earring. I said, well, geez, yeah. And then facial protection, that would be another thing. First aid kit nearby, fire extinguisher nearby. And one of the things, and I'm going to wrap this up now, but if you're going to be working many hours, it's recommended that you take frequent breaks when able, because fatigue, you don't want to be taking a break when you're really tired and fatigued. And so this is an ongoing breathing document, and we're going to add to it, but it's just a suggestion. Perhaps we're going to, you know, get something going and then laminate it, and we're keeping a book out in there. And so one of the last thing that if I can find it, there was a great quote that you've never seen a smart mistake or accident. Take that for what it's worth, you know. So, and then you know that how accidents, people would say on the car accidents, now they're calling them car crashes. That kind of insinuates that it probably could have avoided. So that's why the word, I think, is replaced by crashes. I'm sure you don't have any questions, so we're done.
There's one.
I have one. I used to fly too, and I had a very smart rule, or I thought it was a very smart rule. If one thing goes wrong, go ahead and fly. If two things go wrong, put the the airplane back in the hangar, because the third one is you're gonna be on the ground somewhere.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And the other thing you add to your checklist for delay work, stay hydrated.
Good. Yeah. Okay, I'll put it down. Stay hydrated. Thank
So-
you.
So what we'll do in future meetings is maybe we'll just pick an item like a grinder or a bandsaw or a drill press. Maybe just address a quick handful of issues you may run into and not overburden you with anything.
But complacency, that's a huge thing. It's a complacency is a killer, and it can be a leader to bad accidents. Well, I've done this a million times, so I don't have to double check everything. Okay,
All right.
thanks,
We're
Mark.
out of here.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's not volunteer. It's like being in military.
What we have now is we've replenished our supply of the rack cards, trying to have them available for others to pick up. So I'm looking for some volunteers to take these to various places. I'm taking one to Woodcraft Canton. I need somebody else to take one to Rockler and Novi, someone to take one to Woodcraft in Sterling Heights. They've got one here in, out on their their council by their cash registers. Who would be, you'll do Novi? There you go.
And I got one thing to say while I'm up here. When you get your pictures tonight, when I send them out, don't like every picture. My phone beeps all night long.
You can turn off
No check. You can
And
say, Mark.
and- and I happen to have to get a friend who wants to be-
What's that?
Okay, Mark, we'll take the Woodcraft.
In Sterling Heights?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, yeah.
You can turn that.
Good, I don't know how to do that. I just don't like it.
That place is dangerous.
You're lucky
Yeah,
you
it could be, that's true.
Bing, bing, bing. He's gonna get so many likes.
That's right. You just don't know.
He'll be smiling.
Yeah.
So does anybody have any announcements they want to bring up? Anything? Ollie?
I probably already know what I'm gonna say, but October and November, still looking for, presenters for our demo for October and November. Remember, December is our wonderful, Christmas party. November is a Christmas or holiday theme turn, so if you have anything special like Santa Clauses or reindeers or elves or gnomes or anything like that you are particularly proud of, bring them in and we'll demo them and teach us how to do it, and that'll be the President's Challenge for December, if I would call that how that works correctly. Am I accurate?
Yeah, I think you are.
Okay,
Sure.
so please,
Holly,
yes,
I'm going to ask a question to the crowd. I don't know how many of you have seen it online or not, but I'm making whiskey smokers now, and they're hot items. Would you like to see me do a demo in October on how to make?
Yes.
Yes.
okay.
Do I get like a cut of everyone?
You
You come over, we'll
I'm a lot
smoke.
more interested.
I don't know, I just want like some money for everyone gets $1 or something.
Actually, I stole Tom the Becker's design
Oh,
up in
yeah,
Canada. Or in
seriously,
Ohio.
you're gonna, yeah.
We're also trying to look at ways to find new members. And one of the ways that we think we might be able to do that is by putting out, going to different craft fairs and events and having a booth where we're showing off our wares, but also we have a lathe there and we're doing turning demos. What is the radius from here that people are willing to travel to go and volunteer and do some turning for an hour or two? 20 miles, 50 miles? What's your opinion?
I travel 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Okay. Next question is, who would be willing to volunteer to do that? I mean, if you only have 3 people that are willing, we'll probably not do it. But if we have half a dozen or more, so I see 2, 3, 4, 5, I see 6. Okay. So it looks like we've got enough people to do it. Go ahead.
Is it because of this location, because
Well, this is where we're gonna start from, but no, the lathe will get picked up and will travel to wherever we are. Yeah, because that's where this is where they live at this point in time.
Unless who's ever like has the booth has one of those lathes or something.
Yeah, I don't, but some people might have mini lathes that they can transport themselves.
I know that in years past that I have traveled to the east side to do that. I did, was there a show in St. Clair Shores that we did some demos at one time? Okay.
Before my time, I don't know.
Yeah, we used to do that at Shadbush when we were there too, and that's like 50 minutes from
We
where I
did it
live,
right
too.
over here in Pontiac one time.
That's true. We did that Pontiac thing.
Yeah, so we've got people who do that.
Okay, so it sounds like we should look about that. I think we're too late to think about getting the Royal Oak Art Beats and Eats into that.
You don't want to do that.
Don't want to do that? It's crazy? Okay, I've never done that.
Yeah, well,
Is there a limitation of, there's a fee involved to be paid to do it? Like,
We need to just find out and we'll discuss it as a board and we'll make a decision, yay or nay. At this point, I can't say.
I mean, if it's reasonable, that's something that the club would do, I'm sure.
Right, you know, if it's a reasonable fee, we'll honestly consider it.
So if you're there demoing, you bring some of your pieces, you put them out on a table and you demo while you're there. You can either leave them there for the show or come take them up when you leave or whatever.
Mhm.
And, you know,
and the one we did in Pontiac, we were just there to demo. We weren't selling anything, so there was no cost to the club, if I recall.
Yeah.
They just had people that demoed stuff and got basically to show and promote the club for free, basically.
and that's what Blue Water did for our meeting yesterday. They couldn't sell anything, and they sold that free
Yeah.
space. They sold, they'd have to buy.
Yep.
so we've done that at the wood shows. Are they still doing those like in?
I just heard about that. They're gonna start a full schedule again next year. The schedule hasn't been posted yet, but they are talking about they're gonna come to Detroit.
Yeah, because I know that this club used to do the Novi wood one.
Yep.
And we just got to keep Ray away from the lathe
Okay,
because he always left some blood on whatever he did.
did he? Okay.
That's why we have our safety people there.
So one of the benefits of club membership is that we offer a mentoring program. We have two mentors. We have Chris Miller, who's not here today, and we also have Paul Zirkle, who's here in the second row. So if you feel that your wood turning skills could need improvement, get with Paul, make arrangements. He can come to you, you can come to him, however you two work it out. But it's free for the club members, so take advantage of it. Even if you've been turning a while and you want to get more practice on something, I'm sure you can be more than willing to help you. If there's no other announcements, we're now going to turn the time over to Matt, who's going to show us how to make a finial out of a little branch.
Yeah, it's too close, man.
Is it?
Yeah.
For a finial? I'm not worried about a finial. They're kind of stabby.
I'd say it's kind of pointed.
Yeah.
So you put it on, then turn it on.
I'll let you get out.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of weight.
All right. Hey, Jeff. Yeah. You want to fire up that PowerPoint? We'll start with that. Oh, okay. I'm Matt Harber, as most of you know. Today, the wood I'm going to be using for this is box elder that came from Michelle and Doug. Thank you. I know that most of it was ash, but there was some box elder in there. So,
There was?
yep.
You gotta scroll the PowerPoint.
It's okay. I don't care.
Tell me when.
Do we have any Zoom members tonight?
One, Henry.
Hey, Henry.
Can you use your mic so we can hear you?
Yeah. I got to put this on, right?
Yes.
All right. How's that?
Better.
Much better.
I like to run the wire inside your shirt.
That's a good idea. Thank you.
What is your point? That is a mentor, you guys.
Yeah, that's actually a problem. That's actually a problem that I have had in the past is the wire from the mic got in the way. So if you are doing a demonstration where you're using a mic and there's wires, make sure that they're protected somehow so that they're not getting in the way. Okay. Y'all can see this. This is a piece that I did. It's a sea urchin with a finial on it. Finials can take a lot of different shapes and sizes. These are a couple that I did last night to practice. Just pass them around. They have they both have a 1/4 inch tenon on the bottom. I'll show you how I do that. I'll make this one with that. But I do that. I try to standardize those, the tenons I use on the bottom, so that I make a bunch of them and then I put them into things. So all I need is a 1/4 inch drill, and the 1/4 inch tenons on all my finials will fit things. Go to the next page, Jeff. So I've got 2 pages of examples here. Let me scroll down there. Go to the first page. Here we go. So there are different names for finials. The one on the top left is, people will call that a newel or something. This is a finial. They can be very simple or they can be complicated. I tend to like things like the one in the lower right corner, where they're basically pyramidal and or cone shaped, if you will. Those are the most appealing to me. They have a base. Now, there's no reason why you can't do one like in the top right and then turn a base for it. If you've got a thin piece of wood, like a pen blank, and a larger piece of wood, you could certainly do them in 2 pieces. There's a lot of different options. I would counsel folks to match the finial to the piece. You don't want the finial too obscenely small, and you don't want it too large. So you don't want a small piece with a really big finial. Now, arguably, the little birdhouse I've got back on the table has a much bigger finial on it than it need to, but it was sitting around in my shop looking for a home, so I stuck it on there. You can get elaborate. You can make one like the one in the lower right, where this is basically an inside-out finial, and then carved. So there's a lot of different ways you can do this. Go to the next page, John. Thank you, sir. When I talked about the conical or the pyramidal ones, number 1, number 2, and number 3, and number 5 are all kind of like that. Number 4 is another inside out one on the bottom, but, and I'm not sure who made these. These are not ones that I've made, but they're all really nice examples of ways to do them. And then on the bottom part, there's 5 of these icicle finials. They're all on the bottoms of sea urchin ornaments, and they're all different ideas about how to do it. Okay, any questions on this stuff? So, I mean, technically, you could say a knob on the top of a box lid is a finial. So there's a lot of different ways, shapes, and forms that things could be. Questions? Okay, next page. All right, so what I've got is a tenon that's already in here. Now I'm going to actually make my finial. Can you show me the overhead camera or this one here?
Oh, I gotta unshare.
You do.
Yeah.
Do the overhead one. There we go. So I'm going to make my finial in this, well, maybe about here, on this piece of wood here. So when it gets narrow up here at the top, I'm going to take this bit off and do the last of it freestanding in the chuck. Okay, I've got a small tenon. It's sitting in the chuck. Okay, and so that's the way I'm going to start. So I'm going to make the finial. I'm going to work from the tailstock to the headstock. I'm going to, especially once I get once I get the tailstock bits off, I'm going to be supporting my cuts with my finger, okay? What that means is any pressure I'm putting in inward with the tool, I'm going to be trying to put equal pressure on the opposite side of the piece. In general, I am going to work very hard to take light cuts and let the tool edge do the cutting. Almost all my cuts are going to be shearing cuts. So a shearing cut is, I will have the tool tilted like this, and I will be cutting with a steep edge. I'd like to use the bowl gouges because I feel they are more flexible, but you could do these with skews. They offer the same sort of edge. Is that me?
Yeah.
Okay. So if I bring my,
You lost your mic.
oh Jesus, that explains that. Sorry guys. Just a little clip here.
This one never sounded better.
Yeah. Can't see what I'm doing. Alrighty, here we go again. So if I was using a skew to do this, I would have it tilted up this way so that I was getting shearing cuts. Any questions on that? Okay, that's good. The tools I have here are a large bowl gouge, a smaller bowl gouge, a basic parting tool, a basic skew, which you've seen. I have what I call a detail gouge, which is basically, this is a spindle gouge that I reground. I swept back the edges and made the angle steeper. What this does is this lets me round things off and get into things easily. So I really like this tool for finial work because it lets me do very detailed work. And then I have some smaller parting tools that I will use. So this is basically a really thin 1/8" kerf parting tool. And this is one that I've got, those of you who have seen my demos have, the edge is slanted a little bit on this one. This is a thin parting tool. I don't know if you can see that or not, but anyway, any questions on that so far? All right. Let's take some shavings. Yeah, that'd be great. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rough this piece. Again, my finial is going to be in this space here. Yeah, let's go with the top one for this, Joe.
Okay, I'm just getting this.
Yep. Yeah, it's showing this one here. Nothing moved.
Oh, okay. There we go. Oh, that top one.
Yep, that's good. Thank you. All right. All right. So these are all shearing cuts. So on this, on the PowerPoint document that I've got here, The last page of it has a bunch of resources. I learned a lot about what I turn, how I turn finials from Cindy Drozda's work. So I've got some links on the last page of this. I've got some links to some of her documentation. So on her website, she has a description of how she designs her finials. And she talks about the conical shape and so on. So what I've got going here is I've got a cone, okay? And the base of my finial is going to be about here. And I'm just going to keep narrowing it down. Now, when it starts to vibrate, or it starts to bow, or I start getting chatter, that is a sign that I'm too thin for the pressure from the tailstock, and it's time to finish the top and get the tailstock out of the way, okay? Any questions so far? Anything from Henry? All right. Okay, so I like to start with some sort of elongated feature on the front, on the top here. So somebody asked me earlier about making gnome-like finials. So part of the game is to make them thin, okay? This is a thin cone. That's how you start. So now what I'm doing is I'm using the front lip, and I'm taking very light cuts, and I need to put these on because I can't see what I'm doing.
Is that your detail gouge?
What's that?
Is that the detail gouge right now?
No, this is another bowl gouge. It's just smaller. It's like, I don't know, half inch of that in diameter or so. Quarter inch. Okay. Looks bigger than that, but it's a quarter inch if you measure the inner flute, right? It's just, I've cut it, I've ground it the same way my deep fluted bowl gouge is, my bigger one is. It's basically it's swept back shoulders, roughly 55 degrees or so. So, but I love this for detail work because I can use the flutes on it and really roll it through a cut and make some really tiny, shearing cut pieces. So now I'll go switch to the detail gouge. So one of the other suggestions to make here on this is to sand as you go, i.e. when you get a small bit finished, then sand it before you move on to the next one. So this is probably loose now. I'm letting the tool do the work. I'm rolling into the cut. So I made a little bit of a sort of a feature here. So now the next bit I want to make is I want to make a little sort of a thing to make the transition to the next part. So I'm going to make a little sort of a bead. And if you get any comments or anything, feel free to sing out at any point. Sorry? That was 1,000. I usually turn faster. 1,200 is about as high as this will go on the current setting. Just stop and look at this. It's kind of, I've got pith in the hair in the middle of it.
Can you zoom in any of that?
No, I cannot.
The other views?
I can't. This is, I can do this maybe.
What if we put the other camera really
You
close?
put the other camera up closer, you can see it right. That's why I have it like that.
Can you go to this camera?
Yeah.
How's that?
That's awesome. Thank you.
Is that better?
Yeah, you can crank it down a little bit too. I got the pith that's in the wood is causing me a little bit of an issue here, but I can.
Amanda, is that,
What's that?
this is gonna be, is that wet wood, and do you prefer that over like a dry piece?
I prefer dry wood. It doesn't. I'm getting some. You know what? Let me move this in here. I'm getting some tear out here that I would rather not have. Dry wood is more consistent. If I can trim this up, might have to be done with sanding. So we'll just go with that. The demo, right? So I'm using this, I'm making shearing cuts with this tool, okay? I'm using the side of the flute to make these cuts. I'm getting shavings that look like that. Whoops, the other one. So I'm trying to protect my little feature here. My little bead. So one of the things I like to do is when I transition to a longer, I don't know, a longer stem, I like to have a little sort of a, I like to have a little, where with the features here, I like to have a little sort of a rise to it, if you know what I mean. So I'm going to try and put one of those in here and not lose my feature. So go slow, let the tool do the work. Make sure you're using sharp tools. In answer to the wet wood, I do think that this is a little wetter. I think it's relatively recently cut, but it has been in my shop for about a week or two, and it's a small piece, so it's probably been drying out a little bit. So the reason why I'm working from the tailstock to the headstock is because the more meter wood I have on the headstock side, the less, the more stable everything is. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do an onion, and I'm going to have the onion maybe terminate about here, okay? So we're going to work towards that. So just one little bit at a time, not getting impatient, keeping things in perspective. So what I mean by an onion is one of these features that where it starts off slim, comes around to a point, and then rounds off. So there are some of those on those pieces that I passed around. what an onion is essentially, it's got a something, kind of an OG in it. You know, if you're starting to work on putting OGs in the bottoms of your plates or bowls, then you're familiar with the general shape. So by rolling this tool as I turn, it allows me to go around. To change the contours, to shape the contours. So that's a little thick, so let's make it a little thinner. Again, I'm letting the tool edge do the work. And some of this stuff can be refined with sanding. So maybe here I've got some, let me see if I've got something here. So what I'm doing, any pressure I'm putting on this with the sandpaper, I am countering that pressure with my finger. Because I don't want to snap this off, because it'll snap off really easily. So that's just letting me refine my shape here. And I got a little bit of an aberration here. Any questions on what I'm doing?
What's the grip you're using?
What's that?
What's the grip you're using?
This is 320. But I mean, I usually will start with you know, like 150 or 220. This is what was on top of the stack. So this is where it is right now. And I've got a little bit of junk going on because of the pith is in the middle of this piece of wood. Any questions?
Hey, Matt,
Yes.
I read someplace a while ago that the best way when you're turning a finial is to just thin your workpiece an inch at a time.
Yeah, that's the same principle. Paul has asked about thinning the piece an inch at a time. That's basically the principle I'm working at here. I'm working to finish the top stuff, and I don't want to put the tool to the top stuff after I'm done. I'm doing a 1/4 inch or a 1/2 inch at a time. I'm working from the tailstock towards the headstock where all my meat is, where the stable, you know, keep it from bowing. So yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing. And to answer the question?
Oh, that was a statement.
Yep. Yep. So I have said that, but that's the principle of what I'm doing here with this is I'm working from the thin parts towards the thicker parts, towards the stuff held, the thick part of the wood held in the chuck. Yes, sir.
Hey, Matt, the area that you haven't turned where the mark is, that's off center, right?
Maybe.
Well, I'm just, it looks like it when you first
It
started out.
is. Yeah, it was pretty off center.
Vibration impart anything on a long, skinny finial that you're working on?
Well, I started between centers, okay? So with the understanding that I'm going to be turning most of the stuff out of the way, especially the stuff that was off center, it's all going away because I'm making the finial in the middle,
Well, I
okay?
understand that. I'm talking about the remaining part in the chuck. Now you've got it.
Well, it's still a little bit off center, but it's not imparting any vibration down here. So any vibration that I'm getting down here, I mean, this is all centered on the spindle, right? Any vibration that I'm getting down here is due to the fact that it's really thin, okay? Not due to the fact that this bit is off center. Because the center of everything I'm turning is perfectly round and on center. That makes sense.
It does, but for that, I mean, it's micro brands probably. My question is, would that transmission of that vibration back at the chuck manifest itself out?
Maybe if you were doing one of those tremblers that's like 10 feet long or whatever.
So it's not a big issue.
Yeah, it's not an issue here at all. But thank you for the question. Anything else?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you use by chance, like the rubber chucky finial?
I do have one. What Jeff is asking about is the rubber chucky finial. This is what Don calls a finial chucky. I could use it here. It's got a little bearing in the top end here. I don't know if y'all can see that. There we go. Oh, I meant this camera. I'm sorry. There we go. So it's got a little bearing in the end. This is one of Don's aluminum mandrels. It's a number 2 MT. So how this works is I can pop this out and I can put it in here in the tailstock. And then I could very gently bring this up. Okay, till the bearing is in there. And I may just do that for now just to show it. But it basically it'll shut down your vibration. So this is one of Rubber Chucky's finial chuckies. But that's how that works. Yeah. No, because the bearing is rotating. Yeah, and you're not putting any pressure on. Another way that you could stabilize it is I have something like this. Give me the overhead camera. This is what is called a string steady rest. Okay. This is not properly sized for this lathe, but it goes in the lathe bed. Okay, and it's a string steady, and if your piece is sitting here in the middle like this, then you could wrap like this. Did I use the microphone again? Okay, and that keeps it going back and forth. Or what I do is I do corner to corner. So I wrap here, 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 and here. And that holds the piece in tight as well. This is called a string steady rest. There are links to how to make one of these. This is just waxed kite string. I heated up some beeswax on my stove and dipped the string in it. This will leave a mark, since that question was asked earlier. I did make one for one of the smaller lathes here, but it got repurposed years ago. So into something that is now being used for dust collection, I think. Anyway, any other questions? All right, let's make the rest of it.
Go back to
Yeah, go back to this one. The other one. Again, shearing cuts, trying not to take a lot of material. Like that. And I can use the steel here to do a lot of the same sort of stuff. And cut my groove with the steel. this. All right, for my base, I'll just start with a parting tool. Now, I can do this with a parting tool where I'm sort of rolling it into the cut. I'm using the side of the parting tool to kind of sort of clean up the edge there. And I'm tilting my parting tool as I go back and forth. Now, I've got another little trick to show you all. Let's see if I can find it here. Yeah, there it is. All right. So this is a 1/4 inch wrench. That's all it is. I'm using it in this sort of way to size my tenon, okay? So let me switch to the other smaller parting tool here and show you how that works. I'm there. Now, one of the things you can do is you can get this on here and then move it along to really get your, it'll sort of cut it yourself. So, and then you can just simply part it out. So there's my little tenon, or my little finial, and it's got a 1/4 inch tenon on it, and it's kind of screwed up on the top because of the yeah, absolutely, because of the pith in the wood from the branch. But that's how I make those. Any questions, comments? Thank you. What's that?
Somebody had a question out here.
Yeah.
Do you have a design in mind when you started, or you just kind of make it up as you go along?
I am sort of making it up as I go along, but that's an informed process because I've made a fair number of them, and I made some really ugly, clunky ones when I started out. So it's like I try to learn something from everything I do. So I look at it and I say, what can I do to make the next one better? So when I first started out, I put too many features on them. I put, they were straight up cylinders with a lot of little beads and stuff on them, and they didn't look very attractive. So I've actively worked to make mine better. I do things like try to learn from Cindy Drozda and so on. If you could switch to back to the PDF or the PowerPoint, if you would. So on the back of go to the last page. So the last page is links and resources.
Can you make that full page, Jeff? I'm working on it. Thank you. There we go.
So on here, I've got a link to one of Cindy Drozda's videos. In our library, we've got her turning a fabulous finial box, which I highly recommend. I've got links to how to make a string steady rest. And there are a couple of different ones. There's a different one other than the one I have. There's one that fits in your in your tailstock on your live center and rotates with the piece. So if you want to, I mean, I don't know how long that's, what, 4 inches long or something like that. I've made 8-inch long finials just as an exercise. You know, things start getting really wobbly, and so you want to find a way to hold on to it. So there's a couple that you can either make a string steady like I did. I mean, this was fairly easy to make with a couple pieces of plywood and some, you know, a couple of screws and some wax kite string. So, yes, sir.
Anything about wood selection?
I prefer maples. This is box elder, which is a soft maple. This worked pretty good except for the pith. Hard maple works really well. The finial on that little birdhouse, the big long black finial on the bottom of my birdhouse, that's hard maple. It's just dipped in chestnut spirit stained black to make it black. So it's a really good, consistent wood. It keeps an edge. It'll keep, you know, if you make little tiny features on it, it'll keep that well. It won't come apart. Any good, consistent, evenly grained wood. Cherry makes decent finials. So a lot of the more exotic stuff, people make finials from African ebony and things like that that are really pretty. It shines up really well. So what you want is a good, consistent grained wood. You don't want something like ash or oak, where oak is very porous, and the oaks that I've turned and tried to make finials out of, they don't work well because they don't hold the features, you know, the sharp little corners and stuff like that. Ash, we all know how ash grain, you know, the end grain is really hard in ash. It doesn't make good finials because you can't get a consistent curve on them and so on. So, you know, and this is just, yeah, hang on a second, Ali. This is just one way to make finials. This is the way I am currently making finials. So there's a lot of different, one of the things I tried to show, if you go up 2 pages to the second example page. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to make finials or icicles. You know, like I said at the very beginning, even the little knob on the top of a box lid that you pick it up with, that's a finial. So there's a lot of different ways and shapes that you can make finials. So I would encourage you to experiment and find something that works for you and works for the piece and works for what effect you're trying to create in your piece. Yes, Ellen.
When you're trying to fit a finial to the lid of a box curve that's convex, what is the best way to if undercutting is the best way, undercut the finial base to match the curve of the box you're trying to cut? Am I making sense?
Yes. The one that I turned here, the bottom of the base is not undercut. It slopes down to the port where it goes in. But you're absolutely right. You can undercut the finial base. I mean, you could technically, you could make it a two contour. You could come in this way and then undercut it. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of different ways you could do it. It depends on how you want, you know, if you want it to stand up or you want it to sort of conform. So there's no reason why you couldn't completely undercut the base of your finial to make it sort of sit directly down on top of your box, you know? And maybe, you know, maybe you not want a knife edge on the edge of it, of the base. Maybe you'd want, you know, a 1/16 of an inch or something. So there was a clear transition to the finial, and it would also make your finial a little more stable. So, I mean, we're working with very small details here. So you've always got to keep in mind that, you know, the slightest little aberration, twitch, you know, your phone rings or whatever, you know, you could screw the whole thing up if you weren't careful. So, you know, leave yourself a little extra room so that you can reshape something if you have to, so that the things are a little more stable than they might be if you were paper thin or whatever. So, thank you. Any other questions? All right, that's all I've got. So, yes. No,
Now we're gonna be passing around. Okay, so let's get back. Let's do our show and tell now. So I brought in this piece that I made at Ron Campbell's Hands-On Retreat, and it's cherry and maple. You turn a disc, you then draw where you want to cut it apart on the bandsaw, and then I had to use a joiner to get the edges straight and glued it together. And there's very many different ways. Then I put Danish oil on it. So this was a class that I took with Kevin Bedgood.
You have two pieces there, right?
I have 2 pieces of wood. I think the next one I'm going to try with 3, so that it's you have more movement, more expansion. Anybody else have anything that they want to show and tell about?
I want you to flop one of them so it swoops up and swoops back down.
Yeah, you can do that. You can, because what you do is after you get it done cut, you put it on the table and you start rearranging the pieces until it looks the way you want it to, or it looks acceptable. It looks like we have a few that are coming up. I'll hold the mic and you can.
Okay, no one will be able to hear me anyway. All right, so this one was a group project. Ollie started this one, gave up on it, and I picked it up and finished it. On camera now. It's
Well, there you
apple.
are, is right there.
Okay, there. It's a piece of apple, a lot going on in the wood. Worms were very active in the branch, so it's got a lot of texture to it. Interesting piece of wood. Other piece, this I actually pulled out of our pile of locust, but I'm pretty sure it's maple. Not sure though. Outside seemed to turn like it was locust, but once I got it turned around, it looked a whole lot like maple. So not exactly sure, but almost kind of split personality. This half's pretty plain. This one again has a lot going on. So.
Pretty cool. Very nice. So, thanks, Mark. This is my birdhouse. It's decorated. This has got a really long finial on it. I don't know, 5-6 inches. Okay. Like I said, it was hanging out in the shop, so I dipped it in chestnut spirit stain. I was spraying it last night, so the finish is a little screwed up on it, so I need to adjust it. Natural edge top. So it was a lot of fun. And this piece here, I was cleaning up some older things I had laying around in my shop. I funneled it. I went through the bottom of it. So I decided to clean it up, and then I decided to decorate it. So this has got the dot painting techniques that I just learned at Campbell's retreat. So a lot of fun. I'm really happy with how this turned out. Thank you very much. Walnut, clearly.
All right, so now let's do the President's Challenge, and that will be for a $10 gift certificate from Rockler, and it's ticket number 808105. So who's got 8105? That's Mr. Mike Lenaway.
All right, Mike. There's another $200 gone.
Yeah, that's my luck.
So remember, next week we're having a workshop here from 10 to 12. Come and be with Matt and the guys and the ladies, and we will help you get better on your finials, or if you have anything else you want to bring and work on, feel free to do that also. We will have our next meeting in a month here on the 3rd Saturday of September at 10 in the morning.
Remember the chairs.
And also to remember to bring your chairs. Otherwise, you guys in the back, you get to stand again. So with that, we're going to go into the wood raffle, and I'll shut the mic off and we can stop the recording. And does everybody have their tickets? Nah, I'm gonna be up there. Okay.